All right, now let's get to our task force we've assembled to figure out what it's going to take to jumpstart Microsoft stock and deflect some of that criticism that Sheila laid out. Ken Smith runs the Munder Growth Opportunities Fund, which returned 5 times the S&P 500 over the past 5 years. Microsoft is one of the fund's top holdings. Brendan Barnicle is an analyst over at Pacific Crest Securities. He is a top ranked for his calls on the technology sector. He's got a hold on Microsoft. And joining me right here in studio is Professor Michael Cusumano of the MIT Sloan School of Business. He's written several books on Microsoft, including the most recent book, Staying Power. So, gentlemen, I want to say welcome to Street Smart. We've got a lot of ground to cover. And, Ken, I want to kick it off with you. Lay out your case for what ails Microsoft.
I think the difficulties with Microsoft really center primarily on the market share losses with the Windows platform. They've lost share over time, to open source platforms like Linux, and then particularly in the mobile devices area, they're losing share to Apple and as well to the Android platform. So that's made the going difficult for them and largely offset the what we see as a very compelling valuation for the stock at this time.
I mean, it's still a good business in your view, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Microsoft is generating a tremendous amount of cash. They've been relatively shareholder friendly as large cap technology stocks go, returning a lot of that cash to shareholders.
Brendan, you think you've got a hold on this stock. You still think Microsoft's got a good business here or not?
Yeah, I think Microsoft has a good business, particularly in the Office side of the business, where they've really been able to maintain their share despite things like open source and other attempts to derail it. The key's been the Windows business, as the other guests are alluding to. You've got to fix that business. That continues to be in decline. That's the most profitable part of the business, so that's driving down the margins. The other issue is that going forward, the company's already guided for lower gross margins because of the new businesses they're going into. It seems like it's very tough for the stock to sort of break this trend with margins continuing to decline.
Now, Michael, you say that Microsoft and Ballmer don't get credit for how much money they make, and neither does the stock. I mean, as we mentioned, Sheila mentioned, the stock hasn't really gone anywhere in a decade. I mean, what should they be getting credit for?
Well, they're a money machine. They print money. It's almost as good as the U.S. Treasury, and they have for a long time.
And that alone is reason to like this company, like this stock?
Well,
I mean, it hasn't paid investors.
It hasn't paid investors. It's not growing. So Microsoft is basically stuck in the Windows PC market, the enterprise market. And so the valuations of all the enterprise software companies, with the exception maybe of Oracle, are pretty low. So it's just a business that's been growing at very modest rates over the past 10 years.
So in other words, don't pick on Microsoft because everybody's in this case.
Well, you can still pick on Microsoft for not doing other things or being more aggressive, like Oracle has been, for example.
Hey, Brendan, you've got a hold on Microsoft, and I do give analysts sometimes a hard time when they've got a hold rating. Why hold Microsoft when you haven't made any money over the last decade?
Well, I think it goes to the valuation case that you made early on. I mean, selling Microsoft down at these levels, we don't see as necessarily making you a lot of money. I mean, if we look at putting a sell recommendation on something, we've got to see material downside. Hard to really make that case. I mean, there could be a bit more downside here at these levels, but hard at this valuation. The thing with Microsoft is we just don't see a lot of catalysts coming forward, so we don't see a lot of catalysts for growth, particularly relative to the other opportunities in the group. Because as pointed out, the enterprise sector has struggled. These guys have struggled more. There are plenty better places to really have growth within the enterprise sector. You can look at things like software as a service, virtualization, big data. There's some tremendous trends in software. Unfortunately, Microsoft just hasn't really been able to capture many of them.
Hey, guys, let's talk about Steve Ballmer a little bit because various folks have been pretty vocal about Steve Ballmer, Mr. Einhorn specifically, about whether or not he should be at the company anymore. Ken, let me ask you, I mean, do you think Steve Ballmer should go?
I think there needs to be a change made. I mean, Steve Ballmer's been at the company, managing the company for about 10 years. And as you pointed out earlier in the segment, the stock's down significantly in that time period. I think he's a smart person, obviously, has done a good job of managing the financials of the business. They're generating a lot of cash, but they've just missed too many product opportunities. The market share losses in Windows haven't been addressed, and then continuing to lose tremendous amounts of money in the online businesses, where I think new leadership and new vision could probably bring something to the table.
All right, so I'll take that as a yes. Hey, let me remind everybody what David Einhorn said, because he said, quote, "It's time for Microsoft's board to tell Steve Ballmer, all right, we'll see what you can do. Let's give so-and-so a chance." Ballmer's problem is that he's stuck in the past. Michael, do you agree that Steve Ballmer, you've studied this company, you've written a book. I mean, is he stuck in the past? You're smiling, so is that a yes?
He sort of is, but I'd also say the devil you know is often better than the devil you don't know.
Still a devil, though.
So, still a devil. But who are you going to put there in his place? And he's managed the Office and the Windows business in a tremendous way. But he has missed a lot of opportunities. But
you don't
again,
think somebody else could come in and find some new opportunities?
It's possible. It's possible. But I think what Microsoft can do, they can do with the current management team. But some new blood would be good as well. But it's up to the board.
Right, it is up to the board ultimately. Talking Microsoft and how to really jumpstart this company's stock has pretty much gone nowhere since the last 10 years. We've got their proposals. We want to get through them. Let's start with Professor Cusumano. So what's your proposal on how to fix Microsoft or get the stock at least moving?
Well, as we said, the Windows market and the PC markets are not growing very fast, and Microsoft is stuck there. For that reason, I actually think they should move aggressively into the mobile market. If I were them, I would buy RIM. They already have an agreement to get the smartphone market of Nokia. Mm-hmm. You combine those two shares with some other market share they already have in Windows in the US, and they're a major player.
So do that and really go after growth.
Yeah, and I think they already are in software as a service. Windows Azure is very good, great reception. They have the software as a service part covered reasonably well, but they don't have mobile.
Got it. So that's your proposal. Ken Smith, what's your proposal? I think your first thing you say is you got to say goodbye to Mr. Ballmer, correct?
Yeah, I hate to pick on the CEO, but I think that is a change that needs to be made. I think it would improve the stock performance, immediately. I think investors have lost confidence in Mr. Ballmer at the top. So I think that's one change. And I'd agree with Professor Cusumano. I think they need to address the issue in the mobile platforms immediately. The partnership with Nokia, I think, is intriguing. But I think, RIM, the thing that RIM would bring to the table is they've got an extremely strong presence in the enterprise, just like Microsoft. So I think it would actually be a pretty good fit, and RIM, obviously, with the difficulties they're facing, it would probably be had for a reasonable price.
And you also say restructure online, just quickly, correct?
Yeah, they've been losing a couple $1 billion a year in the online businesses there. I think they either need to, frankly, shut some things down or acquire enough to gain some scale there. I think the Yahoo acquisition a few years ago would have been a good acquisition if they could have got it done. I think they need something like that to build scale in that business and make it profitable.
Brendan, let's get to your proposal. You say they've got to fix Windows and they also have to start divestitures, essentially. Walk us through this.
Sure. I mean, I think fixing Windows means tablet business, smartphones. I disagree with the RIM acquisition. I think there you're buying a platform that's fading, it's losing market share, it represents old technology. That's what we think of as Microsoft. We need people to think of Microsoft the way we think of Apple and their products and really appeal to people's imagination and new use cases. I don't think you can do that on the RIM platform. I think Nokia gets you some distribution, but not much more. So I really think you got to fix Windows by really coming up with more compelling form factors than what you've got out there right now. I don't think those mobile platforms do it for you. And then I do think you have to think about how do you split this company up and really unlock the value that's there. You need to take a Windows business that may be declining, put that into an annuity stream. Take that Office business, which remains strong, and get a premium for that. Take that server and tools business, which is strong, and get a premium for that. And buy some real software as a service companies. I mean, Azure has been a popular platform, but you don't see them in the applications market. But look at things like, Taleo, SuccessFactors, Salesforce.com, and tons of private ones that can be had at much better valuations if they want to and really become a player and really be serious in that market.
Michael, I know you just want to quickly address something.
Well, I just want to agree that the Symbian software is old and RIM software is old, but that's where Windows comes in. So they have those customers, migrate them to Microsoft Enterprise software. I think it's a great fit. And I think if they can buy some other SaaS companies, that would be great too.
Yeah, so lots of ideas.
There's lots of money there.
There is certainly lots of money. Michael Cusumano of MIT, Brendan Barnicle over at Pacific Crest Securities, and Ken Smith at the Munder Growth Opportunities Fund. Guys, great discussion. We really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
And quick check down to Adam. Adam, what's your perspective on this? You've been listening to this. You were a trader. I mean, what do you think?
Well, one guy says they've got a lot of cash flow. Another guy says it's great if they buy RIM. Another guy says it's great if they lose Ballmer. I don't know. You're kind of in the hoping business. With all that cash flow, Carol, I don't know. I think I'd like to triple the dividend. Maybe then.
Triple the dividend at Michael Cusumano's.
No. Increasing the dividend doesn't really change the stock price for the long term.
All right, we got to leave it on that note.